Hi, welcome to the channel today. Today I'm going to be going over making a beginner's guide to growing fruit trees in containers in Texas. Long title. What I've been growing fruit trees for a while. I've got probably 100 different fruiting plants in these different containers. So I'm going to kind of go, what you need to consider and how to do it, what kind of potting mix to use and all that. Plus at the end I'm going to show you the 12 main varieties that you can, or types that you can use to plant in containers. Now the first thing, if you've never grown anything in a container, don't start out with trying to grow a perennial fruiting plant. Go cheap. Get you a tomato plant, get you a pepper plant, green beans, whatever. Grow those in containers, get used to doing that, and after that, then once you get comfortable with that, then maybe jump into trying to take a pepper plant and take it through the winter. Take it in and out and seeing how that works for you. So don't just try to say, hey, I'm going to spend $100, I'm going to buy me a couple of citrus trees, put them in a container and see if I can grow them. Go cheap starting out. Don't spend a lot of money. See if you enjoy it. See if you got the, interest in it. I know a few years ago, I was helping somebody and they were having trouble, so I gave them two. I didn't give them, I think it's like $25 a piece. It probably sell for $100 in the store, of blueberry plants. It was fully grown. They were up, so tall. They was in a big bucket, 35-gallon bucket. Everything was set up. They had fruited before. They were fertilized, and I kind of went over, okay, here's how you fertilize it, here's how you water it. Gave it to her in the fall of the year. Super nice people, okay? But the next spring, I was asked, well, how'd they go? Because I gave her two different varieties, so everything should work, everything was done right. And he said, well, they died. I said, okay, do you know why they died? I said, I'm not really sure, she said. I think either I watered them too much or not enough, okay? When they tell you that, it's like, somebody gives you a dog and I either died because I fed him too much or didn't feed him enough. I know it's one of the two. Some people just really don't have the worth, or the ability to grow stuff in the fruit in containers. So find out, get some success on something that doesn't cost a lot of money. So number two, you got to figure out what size container that you need. Now, and I should have grabbed some containers. These are kind of containers that I like to use. They're about 35 gallons. It's probably as big as you want them because you do want to be able to move the containers or whatever. That's what most of my stuff is grown in, okay? The next size, or the smallest you want is probably a 5-gallon bucket like this here. Now, this got a fig tree in it. It's been in it for a couple of years. But that's a good size. You're not going to be able to grow anything when you start getting stuff like this size. I mean, I've got these over here. That's fine for starting out, but they're not going to grow fruit in that size container. And you can take from this size to a 5-gallon bucket. There's another 15-gallon bucket. I think I'll show you later. I meant to grab it and bring it over here. But that's a good size if you want to kind of pot up. I tend to not to pot up. I'm not saying I'm right, but I will tend to go from that size all the way up to the big one. Now on my citrus, I don't do that, but we'll get to that later. But you do want to, what size you got. Also, there's two basic types. You got the plastic buckets. They're good. They retain water really well. They're pretty durable. They're going to last you several years. And now the plastic bucket's only going to last you 2 or 3 years. But these others, that'll last you several years. I mean, I've had some of the other plastic, and these tubs are actually lick tubs that a cattleman have. If you know somebody that raises cows, they may give them to you. That's what mine have been done. And they work really well. But one thing you don't want to do, if you come back over here, is I got this from somebody, and you see all these holes drilled in the bottom. You don't really want to do that if you're going to be putting it on the ground, because when you put that thing over, you put all your mulch in there. There's a tree right here, a tree over there, a tree over there. There's roots all over this place, okay? We're in kind of an area that's got a lot of trees. If you don't have trees, that won't be a problem. But especially if you've got like a mulberry tree, When you put that down there and you start watering that and the water starts making it, you know, a wet spot there, the tree roots are going to come to it. They're going to come up to the bottom of it and they're going to come up through those holes, and then they're going to start sucking all the nutrients and all the water out of that tub, and you're not going to know what's happening. And they'll do it in just a couple of months. Can. Yeah, I've had it happen to me before. You get ready to go move them and okay, and then you pull it out. The other thing that happens is if you got an aggressive rooting plant like a fig tree, they will put roots down in the ground, and if you want to try to move it, guess what? You can't. Or you have to go in there and cut underneath it to get them out. So if you're going to put, if you're going to drill holes in it, all you need is a couple, 3. I mean, I usually put 4 holes inside of it. I usually move up a little bit. I'll drill a hole about right there. What that does is gives you a water reservoir down here. So when you water it, it's able to suck up some of that excess water into the middle of the pot. Because what happens sometimes, I don't want to do that, make it stuck, is you'll have a 2-inch area that have water in it, and the very middle of it will be dry. I've seen that with tomatoes before. I thought I was watering really good. The tomato finally died, so I went and empty out the potting mix to start over, and it's a big old hard middle that hadn't been wet in a long time. So that can also happen to you. The other type, I didn't plan this very good, is the fabric pots. And I'll show you some fabric pots here in a minute. Okay, they're over here. And they work really nice to a point, but the problem you get with them is if you're on concrete, it's fine. But if they're not on concrete, those roots will come up and go underneath here. If you get a perennial, the other thing that can happen is you're going to have the tree roots can go up in there also. Plus, they drain really well. Now, you think that'd be an advantage, and it is, but they drain so well that you have to water about twice as often as you do with a plastic pot. So, a lot more watering, and it's kind of hard to tell when you water these well. With those, I can see it, the water runs out the hose. You can, okay, we got them watered. You do want to water them slow on those big tubs, plastic tubs, but when the water's coming out the bottom of it, especially if you got the little reservoir on the bottom of them, you know to stop watering. These, it's hard to tell. Now, easiest way to tell if you need the water, walk over here and pick it up like that. That one's heavy, so I know it's got a lot of water in it. If it's light, you need to water it. So that's an easy way to tell if you need watering. Now, what type of mix do you use? Now, the mix that you use for this and the mix you use for a plastic tub is different. This, you'll want to put more peat moss. You might want to put some compost or something like that. You want something that so it won't drain out so fast. Okay? These plastic pots, though, retain water really well. Now, if you're going with a perennial plant, this becomes very necessary in the fact you need a well-draining mix. And if you just go to the store, if you're going to buy a potting mix, you buy potting mix, not potting soil, because potting soil can have just regular dirt in it or sand. It doesn't really help you any, okay? It's okay if you're going to put them in a raised bed, that's fine, but a raised bed is connected to the ground. These here aren't. So they just won't drain well in the wintertime. So what I use is 5 parts of a pine bark mulch, 1 part of perlite to give it drainage. And this is about $20 for this here, 20 something. And also peat moss. This here bag costs about $15. So 5 parts of this, 1 part of this by volume, and 1 part of that. Okay, 1 part peat moss, 1 part perlite, 1 part pine bark mulch. You want to get the kind of fine pine bark mulch. You know, it's pretty well ground up good, so you don't have big chunks in it. The big chunks just doesn't hold any water. So that's a good, I mean, that's just straight out of the bag, so that's kind of what you're wanting. And here's I've mixed some up. So this is what it's going to look like once you get it all mixed up. You have the perlite in it. I think that's pretty much, I don't know if I got any. Now another thing you can substitute for the perlite, if you're in Texas, especially South Texas or Central Texas even, is expanded shell. And I actually got this in Baytown. It's kind of hard to find, but if you're in Houston area, I think the other place you can get it, and the same thing in Dallas, but you got to go to a certain place that actually carries expanded shell. And it will, what it's good at is it can add weight, and it also adds air pockets for the roots to be able to grow to get air. If you don't want to go perlite, the other thing you can also use is from O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Believe it or not, they have a stuff called Optisorb, Optisorb, expanded, diatomaceous earth. Okay, it's 100% diatomaceous earth. Don't get anything else, because if you get any other type of oil, because it's an oil it sucks up the oil. If you spill oil, that's what it's made for. Don't get any other stuff, because it's going to wind up in a gummy paste. The diatomaceous earth isn't, so it will work. It is kind of expensive. It's $20 for a bag now, I think. So, but it does work really well, because it will add moisture to it and also allow it to breathe. I don't use vermiculite in my mix, because vermiculite just sucks in the water and doesn't really help in aeration. You want to help these plants be able to aerate. And with this mix, I'm usually getting 4 to 5 years out of it on average. It does kind of vary sometimes, but if it still looks like that, it's still good stuff. If it starts looking like actual dirt, at that point it needs to be changed out. But the thing about it, this stuff here has no real fertility to it. It's just a medium for stuff to grow in. It's a good medium, but you're going to have to add fertilizers. Now, you got to decide, do you want to go organic or do you want to go synthetic? Organics do not work well in these plastic pots. There's nothing natural about using a plastic pot. And the thing about it, there's like 11 essential nutrients you need to grow things. Most people, they talk about nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Actually, those three are the primary ingredients that you need. But you also need the secondary ones, which is, I think, magnesium and sulfur, maybe. But you also need the micronutrients, which is going to be your manganese, your iron, things of that nature. So you need all these different nutrients in there. If you use organics, are you getting those? The other problem with organics, and hopefully we can get rained out, is they need micro activity to release those fertilizers. So in a plastic setting, it gets hot, it gets cold, you get wet. They're very wet one day, dry out the next day, and the next day you have no water again. So they're doing this the whole time. Your water going up and down, your temperature's going up and down. It's going to get hotter than the soil in the day, cooler at night. Same thing with the watering. You get a good rain, it lasts a week on the ground, easy. You get a good rain on these pots, it lasts 2 days. So I always recommend going synthetic. Organics works fine if you got a raised bed, works fine if you're out in-ground gardening. They do not work very good in these tubs. It's just hard to get that right mix down. Now, the type of fertilizer I use, one of them's going to be Miracle-Gro. Why? It's cheap. I give them these big packets like this, so I have plenty. I put 1 teaspoon per gallon of water whenever I water it. I usually do that about once a week. That kind of can vary. Don't use, when you're using this, let's see if I got this. It'll have a big spoon and a small spoon in it. As I always tell people, use this here. I think that's half a teaspoon. But just use one of those per gallon is all you need. And just do it every time you water if you want to, or every other time that you water, at least once a week. Now, if you're, this spoon here is good if you're going to use it in a raised bed, but if you're using it in a container, that's going to be too much, is what I found out. So you don't want to over fertilize your stuff. You just use what they need. You do have to fertilize at least once a month with that type of fertilizer. I also will sometimes add some Osmocote. I don't use enough Osmocote to fertilize it completely, but I do put about a handful for every gallon, a handful for every 5 gallons of mix, or sometimes a handful per tub, just to give it a little bit. I put it in the middle of it so it have some fertilizer release, over time. It only lasts half as long in the south as it says on the deals here. Yeah, it says fortified with 11 essential nutrients, so it's got all the nutrients in it you needed. It says feeds up to 6 months. Normally down in the hot south, with our temperature as hot as it is and the way as we are, it lasts about 3 months. But still, 3 months is good. But it's also, it also fertilizes twice as much as it would if you was in like Seattle or the Pacific Northwest. So it's not just getting ripped off, it's just it's breaking down faster than it was in other parts of the country because we're just so hot all the time. Because at the Pacific Northwest, they're cool at night. We're hot around the clock. I mean, we're not dropping below 75 degrees all week. So there's that. Watering. If you're gonna start growing stuff in containers, if it's in a hot summer, you're watering every 2 days on the big buckets, every day if you got a 5-gallon bucket. You're gonna have to figure that out. You know, that's something you gotta do. It's almost like a dairy, like around the clock. Now in the wintertime, if you're getting plenty of rain, I may not water once a month. But during the wintertime, during the summertime, you're gonna have to water. And you have to water fairly frequently. So, and I can't give you an exact deal because it varies. You know, I haven't watered in 3 days, I don't think, but we got rain. So it's cooler. Again, go pick up the bucket, see if they're light. If they're light, need to water. If they're heavy, you don't need to. Now, what types of trees can you grow? That's why probably you clicked on the video. First one we're going to talk about, it's going to be on the other side, it's citrus. Let's walk on over here. I like citrus because it makes well, it does well. For me, we're in Texas zone 9A. I don't have to bring these things in except maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks out of the winter time. I'll put them in that garage over there, fill up that garage with all the different plants, and it protects them. Okay, because these can take down in these pots, it could probably take, I got stuff all on my hand. It can probably take down the upper 20s. So if it gets lower than the upper 20s, it gets to the mid 20s, I'm gonna put them in the garage. In pots, they're not as winter hardy as they are if they were in the ground. But if we're gonna get down into the teens, they're going in there and I can protect them just by putting them in there. You don't really want to bring them in the house unless you have to, because if you bring them into the house, you got nice 70-degree weather, it's gonna think winter's over with, they're gonna start growing again, and they're gonna lose all their cold hardiness. So citrus works really well. I've had this citrus tree here for 4 years, and it's doing fine, it's making. You want to prune off the fruit if it's too heavy, because you can't split in fact, one of these I was trying to prune the fruit off and it split the trunk on it. But the other thing is you want to make sure you stay above this graft line with the trees, because this graft stuff below it's not, the stuff below that is the rootstock and it's not edible fruit. Stuff above it is, for the most part. And I say it's not edible, you could eat it, but it doesn't, the taste is bad. Second thing you can do is peaches. And you don't have to have any. There's a peach tree over here. Actually, it's a nectarine tree. I don't recommend nectarines because they do tend to rot really bad. And you say, well, why do you need, because really why you're growing in a container, you have to have you need a reason. And for me, I do early varieties, and sometimes they bloom early. So if we're gonna have a late freeze, I can take them in the garage and I won't lose the fruit. So I can still have some peaches that make. The next one we're gonna have, and we are gonna have to walk over here. Well, yeah. And I didn't plan this that well. Here's some more of my citrus. This is 2.5 years old. So this one here, again, 2.5 years old. All these about 2.5 years old there. So they grow pretty quickly and they start producing pretty quickly. And over here is the blueberries. Now these blueberries here, these 5, they're all over 10 years old. And they make really good. They're pretty easy to grow. The only thing is you gotta keep that pH. So, you know, that pH has to be between 4.5 and 5.5. I have done a video on that to explain all of it, so I'm not gonna go into it, but that's, if you've had problems in the past with blueberries, that's probably why. And these, I think I took them little 4-inch pots and stuck them in there. I didn't pot them up. The next one, you can do plums. Gotta be careful with plums, they have to be cross-pollinated, but it is a smaller tree. They do fit in the pots pretty well. You don't need to get, like, they'll have semi-dwarf plums and peaches. You don't really want that in the south because that rootstock's not good. Down here it dies pretty easily. They do make a miniature peach. Just make sure you get one that tastes good, because some of them taste like crap, okay? Some of them are supposed to have a good flavor, so that is critical. Anyway, and then one over here I've got on the blueberry is a Sunshine Blue, and this is a 15-gallon pot. It is a good pot to grow a lot of things in. It's a good intermediate pot. This thing was pretty small. All this is fresh growth. It's looking good. You know, that leaf's just a no leaf. It's, you know, it's nice. And like I said, there's where the pot was, and I just put it in there. They fit off the pot. I'm looking because let's go back over there. The form of the trees you want, oh, well, here's a pomegranate tree. Now I will say I've not grown any fruit off this yet. Pomegranates like drier areas, and as you can see, we're not dry. So we're going to see on it. That's kind of, but as far as growing, it's grown really well. It looks nice. You know, this is kind of still an experimental stage. We'll see how it goes. That's a good form that you want for your peaches, so you have peaches all over it rather than just a straight trunk. But sometimes that's hard to get. That's a good kind of a good form too for a peach tree, you know. But that's what you know. This peach tree here is probably 15 years old. That one's, well, about 10 years old. I think that one's 15 years old. And it's still producing peach. It looks bad as far as this trunk split and all that, but it's still made a peach or two this year. I wasn't able to bring it into the garage, so the fruit froze this year because I ran out of space. And over here, again, this is a new one. This is pineapple guava. I got 2 plants. This one still has not potted up. This is the size it got when I got it. I can't make up my mind if I want to plant it in the ground or if I want to keep it in a pot. This is strawberry guava, and strawberry guava does not need a pollinator. It's the only one I got, and that thing has really put on a lot of fruit. The only thing that's going to be a caveat is do I like it or not, and we don't know. Really, you should try to taste the fruit before you plant the tree. Here is a lychee tree, and it produces lychees. This is a newer one. This is like 3 years old, I think. And over here is the older one. It's 5, 6 years old, and it's got lychees on it. And that lychee actually split. One of them was ripe yesterday, or whenever the cavalry guy came out. And you know, it will produce lychees. I did grow 2 because I think it does need it will produce a few without cross-pollination, but I think it needs a little bit, and I think that's why they look a little better this year. And they're just, I say, one of them ripened on me. When he was here, I seen it, so I let him have it. The other one we're going to talk about will be gotta move stuff around. The loquat tree, it's over here. Now the good thing about a loquat, it's winter hardy. Don't have a problem with that. It is kind of growing big. But its odd thing is it will start putting fruit on in the fall of the year, in early winter, and you have to carry that fruit through the winter time. If you don't, you know, if you get temperature below about 26 to 28 degrees, it freezes. So I got some in pots that I can put in the garage, and they make. And I've also got some in the ground, so if we have a mild winter, I can get some on both of them. So we're going to see how that works. I did make a good crop. This one was fair. This is called Champagne. The one over here is called Yahula. I would suggest it if you're going to try a new tree. Those are seedling loquats there. But this one here, I mean, it was loaded with fruit this year. And again, this one's 4 or 5 years old. And like I say, it was called Yahula. It's a mild flavor. It's got similar to apricot. Got a big seed in the middle of it. The other one, let's go ahead since we're here, is pineapples. Now, a good thing about pineapples is they can be free. This one here that I've got growing was cut from a pineapple we bought at the store. I put it in there. This is the second year, and now I got a pineapple. And that pineapple, once it's made, you cut that off. These are different pups and starts that you can put out. I need to kind of pull them off and start doing that. I'm still kind of new at it. This is another one that we got off from the store. Got really big, so I think it's going to make. That's one I bought online. That's I can't remember the name of it, but it's one that's supposed to be coreless, so you can actually eat the core. So again, if you're just starting out, that's a good one, because all these are pineapples that I grew. I will warn you, man, I'm too far away. I did have one that was a real small one that has spines on it, and it's just ornamental. It never actually produces a big pine cone. I did not know when I bought it. Here's more. I bought these citrus from U.S. Citrus Nursery down in South Texas through a mail order, and I planted them. They were in these little tubes. I planted them last fall, and this is what they look like now, and then I'm going to up pot them to a bigger pot here pretty soon. That is the second year. Your second year, third year. I think it's second year of a loquat seedling that I'm growing. So, and the only two differences in these two, I think, is the fact that this just had a bigger pot starting out. The other thing we're talking about is going to be the figs. We showed up over there. Figs are good. They're easy. They're easy to start from cuttings, but they outgrow their pot so stinking fast. You know, in 3 to 5 years, you're going to need to do something else with them, or cut them back, or do something. And the other thing you can grow is blackberries. Now I will show you. Boy, it's starting to rain harder and harder. If I wasn't close to the end, I'd stop. But over here we got the blackberries. I did grow them in five gallon pots. This is the floricane, so it's the second year. These are going to die back. This one's already died back, and this has put out the primal canes. So this is the first year. I think this is Primark Freedom. It's thornless, so you don't have to worry about that. I'll end up cutting this all the way off. I don't like them in a 5 gallon bucket, just not big enough. They need to be in bigger pots if you want to do that. Honestly, I don't need to grow in pots. I just did that to show that you could do it. And then, let me see, thornless blackberries. The last of the 12 is going to be strawberries. I don't have strawberries. I've tried growing in the past. I've not been very successful. But if I do it again, I'm going to get a green stalk, and that's one of those planters that go straight up, and you water it from the top, and it waters on down through the bottom. You got to get it level. You want some good potting mix in it, and you also want to get that little turntable so you can turn it. I think that's the best way. It gets away from the slugs somewhat. I've seen people that are successful with it. I just haven't been very successful with strawberries, but a lot of people are. Not a tree, but it is a vine. And the last kind of honorable mention, one I really want to start trying is the improved mulberries, basically Shangri-La. It's one they grow up in Florida, and I've seen it in Houston nurseries. I just didn't buy it, and I kind of wish I had. I'm going to try to grow it both in the ground and in the pot. I've heard you can do it, but that may be one that you want to try also. It's supposed to have a lot better flavor than the mulberries that we grew up with eating as kids. But anyway, that's what we're going to, that's kind of the video. If you have any comments, any questions, any suggestions, put down in the comments. I will answer your questions. This is some things I've just kind of blew through. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you later. Bye.